Our next speaker is Granjon. Pia has been working as a social worker with refugees, asylum seekers, and with children at risk, collaborating with the French judiciary system, focusing on women and children's rights. She enriches her practice with clinical hypnotherapy, mindfulness, EMDR, EFT, and NLP. She has a master's in social anthropology, family sociology, and psychosociology from La Sorbonne in Paris. She is passionate about cultures and acculturation. She has lived in France, Germany, Tahiti, Brazil, and the United Kingdom. Pia's specialism is working with traumatized women and minors. Her talk is titled, Creating a Positive Mindset. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So I will be sharing my screen. Is that okay? Can everybody see?
It looks great. It looks great, Ms. Pia. It looks great.
Okay, that's great. That will be my first positive point then for the presentation. So creating a positive mindset, it is something that is particularly important at the moment, and we will see how to approach that in this presentation. The very first word actually of this, the title of this presentation is quite interesting, creating. We know that in hypnotherapy, we can create many things. We can invent, and I really believe in the creativity of our work as okay. So yes, so that's the creativity, is that the idea that we don't need to wait until the positive mindset is knocking at our door, but we can bring it in our life. So the why creating a positive mindset, it sounds quite obvious. Naturally, I would say instinctively, we know that when we feel positive, when we feel optimistic, then everything in our life is flowing much better. Our body is feeling better. Our mind is working better. So this is something we have to keep in mind as therapists as well. And this talk will be from my clinician point of view. And I think when we are clinician, we need to become very much aware of what we bring in the therapy room. So making sure that our mindset is clear and positive, because that will impact the rapport we are building with the person we are working with, and might have an impact as well on the outcome of the therapy. So we know that our body and our mind work like this together. They are codependent, right? So anything that is affecting our body will be affecting our mind and vice versa. So research shows us and tell us what we feel normally is that when we feel more optimistic, when we have a more positive mindset, then our body functions better. The very first thing that is changing or being modified is that our immune system will work much better. And in the moment with this pandemic we are going through, it's quite interesting to keep in mind. So fighting viruses will be more easy when we have a strong immune system. All our organs are being affected. Our guts, that we can call our second brain as well, is functioning better. We have a more stabilized and strong appetite. We have a longer lifespan, say the research. Our heart is working better. I mean, all the organs are benefiting from a positive mindset. And then if we consider the mental health, which is, again, never forget, linked completely with the functioning of the body, then the rate of depression, the rate of anxiety is lower, because we all know that when we feel positive. When we feel, then we feel stronger. So we have more ideas. The concentration is better. We socialize more easily as well. When we have to face, which is life, some stress or even chronic stress at work or in our life, then if we feel stronger, if we feel more positive, then we will face it much better. Okay, so we know all that is implicated. We've seen, and research told us that the mind and the body are being affected by a positive mindset. And thus, if we can use either the mind or the body to create a positive mindset. It is something that I will really put an emphasis on. It is that we have, as human beings, we have a brain, we have a mind, we have a body. Well, let's be an opportunist of well-being, and let's use everything. So it is something I'm very much using in my practice, and I would encourage maybe some of you to look at, is to have to really consider the body in our work and in the way we can create a better mindset. So mind, body are the two conscious directions we can use. And then we have 3 levels of influence. And I'm here very much inspired by the work of Stephen Porges and Deb Dana with the polyvagal theories, for those of you who are familiar with that. So it is about considering the in, the out, and the in-between. The in being what is happening within me. And that's what I was saying in check as a therapist, check where you are before you enter a therapy with a client. What's happening within me? And same with your client, what's happening within you? Then the out, which is basically the environments we are living in, and we have several environments. So we're going to check that later on. And the in-between, which is the link we create between the in and the several out environments. Very first thing when we want to create a positive mindset is to make the decision. Then to be aware of the starting point. Where are we? Because whether it is for ourselves as clinicians or in the work we are doing with our clients, you already know that we won't be starting the same at the same point, whether someone is dealing with deep complex trauma, for example, or someone who is feeling down because of something that happens in their life. So the work plan will be different, the steps will be different, and the amplitude of the work will be different. So it's important to become aware of the starting point. And then take adequate action, adequate to the person, so it has to make sense, the people need to relate, and then adequate to the outside environments as well, because it may be depending if it's in the social world or in the work world or within a family setting, the actions may be different. And then neuroplasticity, that someone already has mentioned in the previous talk, neuroplasticity with the repetition, which is quite important. 3 things to remember. I think that's okay. We can all remember 2 things. So the awareness, that's what I was saying. The awareness of what is very important. What is happening here, now, and for the person. Inside environment, outside environment, and that link, that in between is very important. Define what is best for you or for your client. It has to make sense. If it is simple, it will be much more easy for them to use whatever tools, or maybe, I'm usually talking about home play instead of tools of homework, because that's more fun, isn't it? So if, for example, if you are teaching your client, or if you are using yourself self-hypnosis, then you need to make it, and you know that you need to make it simple, you need to make it positive, you need to make it at the present tense, And it has to be coherent for the person, appropriate for the person, so it makes sense. Repetition. Repetition is about that neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain to create new neural pathways. And when we have neural pathways that are being used on a regular basis, then they become a routine. And we know that something which is a routine, you don't need that much energy to be using it. It becomes a kind of a reflex. It's easier to be using. So by the repetition of the home play, then the person will be accessing much more easily that positive mindset. So let's begin with the inside environment, the in. The thoughts, the cognitions. So becoming aware is a way to reclaim control. There are different ways for doing that. You know, I'm practicing and I'm using mindfulness with my clients, the person I'm working with. If you become aware of the way you talk to yourself or what you tell yourself about what is around you, that first layer of awareness is very important, so you can go to the next step, which will be the action taking. Okay, so becoming aware of the way a person talks to herself. Mindfulness is a very useful tool, but not everybody uses mindfulness. I think it's quite interesting to talk through what it is to the person, because some people have preconceptive about mindfulness, but you know, it's like any exercise. Some people will prefer that exercise and some other people will prefer another one. And like with any of the clients, we need to check what is more appropriate to them, what they can relate to, what they prefer, whether it's a home play or if it is a technique we might want to use with them. Another way to become aware might be, for example, to write down. Okay, so in this situation, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm talking, this is what I'm saying to myself, so that people can become aware of the thinking pattern. And again, once you are aware of the thinking pattern, then it becomes easier to do something about it. Reframing is a good way as well. This is kind of CBT approach there. So the reframing, for example, if someone is saying to you, or if you are saying to yourself, I can't do that, or it's too difficult to do that, you might reframe like, let's give it a go, or I might try it. So the reframing needs to be close to where the person is, to the beliefs the person has, because if you have too much of a gap, if you go from I can't do it to reframing, suggesting a reframing like I'm the best at doing that, you're going to lose yourself, or you're going to lose the person, because the gap will be too much. So again, it's always becoming aware where the person is and how much you can suggest. Everything is quite interesting. Exercise, I'm just checking my time. Exercise of self-compassion. Gosh, that's a big one. I don't know in your cultures, but in mine and in many different cultures, self-compassion, self-kindness is really not the thing we are supposed to do. We are supposed to be tough on ourselves and to be kind to others. Well, we all know more or less that it doesn't work like this. And I'm living in England, so I'm going to take a very English metaphor. You won't be able to serve a nice warm tea to your guests if you don't have a really nice warm teapot with the water already in it and the tea in there. Okay, that's the metaphor. Look after yourself first, and so you will be more efficient, you will be more present, and you will be in a better health. Okay, and at the moment with the COVID situation we are living in, it is particularly important. If you find it difficult to be kind to yourself, a very simple exercise would be to ask someone you love, someone who loves you, who knows you, who respects you, to ask them what they think about you, what they think about your ability. And you can listen to them, or they can write to you, like write a letter, write a little note, and you can give that in the piece of your place afterwards if you want to. The no JJs is something I am sharing with the people I'm working with very often. It's no negative judgment and no justification. So becoming again aware of every time the person we're working with or ourselves is adding a layer of negative judgment or adding a layer of justification. This will simply be 2 extra layers you will have to deal with to be able to reach that positive mindset. Body. Yes, so it's something I'm very much aware of, being trained in neuroscience and the work of trauma and complex trauma. The body is really a door to dealing with the regulation of the mood. Did I forget something? No, sorry, that's okay. So the body, a happy body moves. A sad body will just shut down. And we know that. We know that when we feel great and positive and optimistic, then our body opens. And when we feel worried or sad, then the body is shutting down because emotions need motion. So after just there stretching, yoga, Tai Chi, this morning I had my EFT and Qigong session before before this conference. Last week, I was working with a client, complex trauma, childhood, and we had a session, well, we had half a session in literally her just moving one shoulder and then the other shoulder. And we moved on one arm and the other arm, and then the torso, and then the legs. When you're working with a person online, you see only the top of their body, but the bottom of their body does exist. So you can suggest that they are moving their legs, which is what I'm doing just now, moving their legs and their feet and everything. So body is very important. Hormones. I love this lady, which is really into a rage state. Yes, hormones are important. Women, we know that the beginning when the start of the hormonal process, or when we have children, for those who have children, or the menopause, perimenopause, menopause, this simply the different hormones, which is highly complex, is playing in the game of the mood, of the regulation of the mood. So when you know you are in this window of your month, you would be gentle with yourself. And if you feel very much into that rage, don't expect you will be at the top of your world like this lady here, because it might not be that easy to reach. Yes, men, you're the same. You also have the androposis is a thing, so you might have to deal with the cortisol is also for the woman, right? That's a stress hormone. So when you have cortisol, it is really affecting the whole hormonal complex, and as well as different organs we have. So just be aware of this. This is an exercise. I'm not sure how long I still have, to be honest. This is an exercise which is again using the body to regulate the mood. It's called the Dushin smile. It's something I'm going to do now. I am inviting to do it with me. You do it or not, it's up to you with your video on or not. So basically it's about contracting specific muscles of the face, and then it will be sending a message up to the brain. The brain will be stimulated in a very specific way, and it will go down, and then you will feel different with your beliefs, your beliefs, mainly your mood, okay? Again, this is one exercise. It will be more natural for some people and less natural for others. Just check how you feel and check how the person you're working with feels, but you might be surprised that a lot of people just need to use their body. So the Dushin smile, basically, you create kind of wrinkles, create wrinkles around your eyes. You contract those muscles, which are called the orbicularis oculi muscles. This line here around on the sides of the nose will be created automatically. So you have those lines on the side of the eyes, And then you can raise your cheek. Okay. And then with the mouth, sorry, I'm closing my eyes, it's easier for me. Then the mouth, you can, those corners of the mouth, you can pull them back and up. So do that and you can have a mouth open or a mouth closed, it's entirely up to you. So you have that mimic, you know, that kind of playing with different muscles of the face, the lines around the eyes, and then the cheeks which are raised, and the corners of the mouth which are back and up. And then you can take a deep breath in. You can bring in, if you want to, some happy memories or positive things you've been through, maybe someone, maybe your pet, maybe just the word optimism, and just stay there with your face and just breathe down or breathe out. This is using the neural messages that by contracting some specific muscle that will send your brain a specific message. I don't know if some of you know laughter yoga. Laughter yoga is all about this. It's really just laughing all together in a group or by yourself. Actually, but in a group would be better. And using specific muscles so the brain receives a different message and then you feel different. The Maslow technique here, I won't be talking about it. I don't have time. You can look out for it. Again, it's about using the neural messages by specific contraction of muscle. These have been observation and research done in fetuses and infants to check how they are functioning with the breathing. With other speakers have talked about breathing techniques and specific movement. The outside environments. Yes, so I've put here home, work, and social. We've seen how much those environments and all of them have changed massively because of the pandemics. Some people have stayed at home, and we know, again, neuroscience, we know that we are social animals. We need interaction because thanks to the interactions, we have co-regulations of our emotions. We need this. And our outside environment will have, I think that I've put that here, relationships influence our internal experiences of regulation of our mood. So the connection we have with some people, and yes, home sweet home, work and social environment, they can be great, but they can at times be uneasy, whether it's home or work or with our friends, right? So I think it's really interesting to ask yourself or your client to check with each environment, how do I feel? How do you feel? So you feel safe enough? Because basically you need to feel safe if you want to reach a positive mindset. If you do not, forget about it. That will be the first step, right? So check in each environment if you feel safe enough, if you feel great or not. And if there is some worries or anxiety, what can I do? What can I do with those interactions? Can I change them? Can I reduce them? Can I modify them? Can I reach out for resources, outside resources or inside resources? And that is where hypnotherapy can help a lot, right? If I feel great in those situations, then just become aware of it and increase those type of relationships, because reaching a positive mindset is not like this. It's really a building up of different things. Okay, so home play and repetition is important. The in-between, the inside and the outside is to be precise. When we generalize, it's usually when we want to get away from something, when we want to avoid something. When we become more precise, when we talk about something very precise, then we regain that control and we can do something about it. So being very precise on what I feel, what I sense, the way I act, the way I think in this environment, with this person at this place, then you regain that control and you can take adequate action. So basically, to just as a reminder, two conscious directions, the mind and the body, three levels of influence, the inside, the outside, and the connection we create from both. The decision to become more optimistic is the awareness of where we start, adequate actions, and the repetition using the reality of the neuroplasticity. So remember, the awareness, the adequate action, and the repetitions are very important. And I don't know where I am with the time, but what is very important as hypnotherapist, I'm like the person before me was saying, the fact that if ever you have different ways of approach is very important, because sometimes people will prefer hypnosis, sometimes will prefer another modality. And I would actually challenge the fact that other modalities might as well be a form of hypnosis. So I think as hypnotherapists, if we want to just focus on hypnotherapy, there are so many things we can do. We can work on the ego boost, we can work on the different triggers to help with a positive mindset. We can work on the reinforcement of the motivation. This is a big thing at the moment. With the more social isolation, people seem to have lost a little bit of their motivation. It's less easy to set up boundaries, to set up an organization in their day. So hypnotherapy can really help a lot with that. Pseudo-orientation in time, obviously, and the boundaries, I think, is quite important as well for the positive mindset. I have no idea how long that has been, but I think it's probably around the 20 minutes.
Thank you, Pia. And I think basically the two things that's etched in my mind now is be kind to ourselves, definitely. And I think smiling with your eyes was really interesting. And I think now we all walk around with masks. So I think it's really nice to be able to, probably that's the way we communicate as well with the people around us. I think a lot of the participants really appreciated your slides. So we have a lot of comments that thanking you for your slide. And I think even though you couldn't see them behind their videos, they were doing the smile technique. And I think everyone really enjoyed that. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's one question from Tanu. What if a person does not have the capacity to realize their adequate reaction?
Right. That is something then we can, first of all, I am a great believer on someone being capable of. So I think as a therapist, I always make sure that when I enter the therapy room, even before the person comes in, I do my own self-regulation. And part of it is I believe in the person. Okay, so if the person, I think that's important, but if the person doesn't believe in themselves, that's if we want to take the frame of the hypnotherapy, for example, the very first section of the therapy is the stabilization. This is part of the stabilization. So we might work on ego boost, but gently. That's what I was saying when I said, start where the person is, otherwise you're losing them. So if they are not sure what is adequate with them or not, just ask them, how do you feel when you are in this situation? For example, do you find this is adequate for you? Do you feel anything happening in your mind? And again, I find the work with the body is very important. Is there anything that you're sensing in the body? For example, and I will share my own experience as well. For example, for me, what I call the bodily signature of anxiety, for example, will be kind of an acid feeling, whether it makes sense for you, maybe not, but it does for me. Acid feeling in my hands. So I will share that for the person. And I say, when I feel that acid feeling in my hands, I know, because I have noticed it, I have become aware of it. I know it's not a situation I'm feeling very much comfortable with. So I might not relate to this situation very well. And if it is relating, because I'm not sure of the question, relating to a specific exercise, just try it. Give it a go. Again, in a very safe environment. Safety is the bottom line, as we all know. Try it. Try this exercise or the other exercise, and then you will see what people feel. You know, yesterday I was working with a lady, and clearly she responds massively with EFT. When I was thinking, maybe EMDR would be better. What's about me? Nothing. It's about the person, right? So if you work on yourself, check what you're feeling yourself. If you're working with a person, check what makes sense for them. So, you know, experience together, check where you are and see how the person answers to that. And as a clinician, just be there to hold the space and create that safety.
Thank you, Pia. Although we do have a couple of questions, I think we will address them via email. So Christina and Hina, we will definitely get back to you. Thank you so much, Pia. So it's back to you, Tom.
That's my pleasure.